sentence is comparing Luke's sailboat. Am I doing this right? Yes. Is comparing Luke's sailboat to Owen's. No. Larger. Very good. So, why can't we say that Luke's boat is the largest?
Because it's only two people.
Right. It's only comparing two things. So remember, we add ER when you're comparing two things. So larger. Now, if we were only talking about Luke's boat, what adjective would we use? Large. We would say Luke's sailboat is large. Okay? Now, that's an adjective describing sailboat, right? Which means it's a what?
I can handle it. Adjective.
Luke's sailboat is large.
It's an adjective.
It's describing sailboat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a predicate adjective. Good. Now, I'm going to give you some sentences, and I want you to stand up. Stand up for a minute. If there's an action verb in the sentence, I want you to act it out. Ready? As best as you can. On our camping trip, now you don't need your dry erase board right now. On our camping trip, we hiked on many trails. Okay, so that's action verb. Good. Stand in place though. We were very tired each night. Is that action verb?
It is a B.
Were is the verb, so were is not an action verb. Tired is not a verb, that's describing weak. Dad and I pitched our big tent. Okay, good. I was unrolling my sleeping bag when I saw a snake in the grass. I was quite scared at first. Okay, is that a verb? Is scared a verb? No. Was is the verb, so you don't act that out. That kind of snake is not poisonous.
No, it's a B.
That's a linking verb. I sighed loudly in relief. Our camping trip was great. Okay, that's a linking verb. Good. Okay, have a seat. Now, we're going to, on the board, we're going to divide our subject and predicate, and then we're going to underline our verbs twice and our subject once. Okay, so for number one, Edward swam well. What's the subject?
Edward.
Good. What's the verb? Swam. And okay, so well, first of all, let's review the questions that an adverb answers. Okay, what are they? How, when,
Where, often, where, and where.
how, when, how often,
Where.
and we learned yesterday where. All right, so if a word answers one of these questions about the verb, then that's an adverb. So Edward swam how? Well. So that's an adverb describing swam. Okay, what's the subject and verb? I can solve that problem easily. I is your subject. Can solve is your verb.
Easily is this.
Easily, good. What question does that answer? How? I can solve how? Easily. Today Sophia swept the porch.
Sophia.
Okay, Sophia's a verb or subject. Swept. Now, is this
Today.
right? Because we would say Sophia swept what? Now the question what means a direct object. okay? Because it's directly telling you what the verb did, okay? So swept the porch. That's a direct object, right? But you're right. Today is the adverb telling when she swept. Okay? And then Mia quickly ran home. What's the subject?
Mia.
Okay, and what's the verb? Ran. How? Right. How did she run quickly? So adverb.
And then home.
She ran home. Ran. Okay, so that would be saying where. Where did she run? Home. So that's also an adverb. So she ran quickly. It tells how, and it also tells where she ran. I know you're so excited. We're gonna learn how to diagram adverbs. So go ahead and get out your dry erase board so we can practice, or you can write in your journal. All right, you already know how to diagram a subject and a verb. You also know that when there is an adjective in a sentence, we diagram the adjective under the noun it is describing. So, because a diagram is a picture of a sentence, an adverb that is describing the verb also has a special place on the diagram. Where do you think the adverb would go?
Underneath the verb.
Yes. Adverb goes under the verb because it's describing the verb, right? So, let's diagram Edward swam. So, Edward is our subject. Swam is our verb. How did he swim? Well. So, we diagram the adverb under the verb. Okay. Now, we didn't, on the second sentence, there was one thing we didn't mark. So, we have I is a subject, can solve is an action verb, and what can they solve?
No problem.
The problem, so that's a direct object. Okay, so see if you can figure out how to diagram this. Subject, verb, direct object, and then we have an adverb describing how they can solve, plus the word that is a what? What's that?
Describing problem.
Right, it's an adjective describing problem. That problem. See if you can diagram that sentence. You know how to diagram every word in that sentence. Okay? Alright, let me call on who has never diagrammed a sentence on the board? You have. Nicholas, you've never diagrammed a sentence?
Well, I have, but not a lot.
Well, that's not what I asked. Who has never diagrammed a sentence on the board? Everyone has?
Yeah.
Alright, some of you I wrote down because you did one recently. Let's see. Noah, do you want to come up and diagram that sentence?
I do.
Yes? Okay, I'm gonna erase Edward's Swedwell. Okay, so go ahead and start with your subject verb. I can solve. Let me see everyone diagramming this. Okay, diagram it.
Am I going to
I'll write a little bit, right? Okay, direct object problem. How do you do that? Draw your line over. And draw your line here. So basically, everything on the top is almost like a mini sentence. I can solve problems. That's like a mini sentence. And then all the things underneath are all the extra little words that gives your sentence some description. All right, very good, Nala, thank you. Okay, so we've got your subject, your verb, can solve, and then you have your line not going through, just to the line. Problem, that problem can solve easily. So adverb goes under here. I think most of you had that right on your boards. Okay, today Sophia swept the porch. Tell you what, let me use popsicle sticks and make sure somebody who hasn't gone. Lucy, do you want to come up and do it? Logan, have you done one recently? Nicholas. Micah. Okay, see if you can diagram that sentence. Today Sophia swept the porch. So always start with your subject verb, and if it has a direct object or predicate adjective, predicate nominative. That's your base, and then go from there. So, I see one more word you can do. So, Sophia swept porch, that's correct. No. What's the? Yes, the is describing porch. Okay, we're not talking. Alright, very good, Micah. So, no, don't erase it. Put that down. Okay. Sophia swept porch. What did she sweep the porch? That's a direct object. When did she sweep it? Today. What kind of porch? The porch. How many of you had that right? All right. Very good. Let's do one more and then we'll open our books. So Mia quickly ran home. Mia quickly ran home. Well, I already have you twice. All right, Autumn. Write nice and big, please. So this one is, on the slate here. Okay, always start with subject verb, right? And then do your adverbs. That's right. Okay, how did she run quickly? Where did she run? Okay, let me good, good. Home is an adverb. Home is describing the verb. It's saying where. Okay. Very good. So both of these adverbs, even though they answer different questions, this one is how and this one is where, they both describe how she ran. So this is the correct way to do that. Okay, so let's practice in our workbook, page 132. Okay, 132. I like this diagram. Okay, so think A, we're going to mark our sentence for diagramming, and then we're going to diagram each subject, verb, adverb, direct object, and any adjective describing the subject or direct object. Okay, lots of directions, but it's basically just saying mark it and diagram it. I think for time's sake, I might just do one. So who can tell me what we should mark for sentence number 1? Jacob? What's that? Okay, minute. Actually, that's part of your subject. There's another word that is your subject too. Well, no. It's a pronoun. Right. He is a pronoun. It's a subjective pronoun, right? And somewhere, I don't know where my chart is. Oh, here it is. Okay, so he can be a subject. Him is object. So he and men are your subject. So underline those and mark subject. And then what's the verb, Jacob? Fought, yes. Okay, so he is a subject, men is a subject. Fought is the verb. Okay, what's courageously? Good. That's describing how they fought, right? So we're going to draw an arrow from courageously all the way to fought. And then what's the and what kind of a verb is this? Action verb, and then the English. What's the English? Right, so he and his men fought, you could say fought what? Or fought who, I guess, in this case. Who did they fight? The English, so the English are a direct object. Okay, it's the object of what the verb is doing. And then the is adjective describing English, and what's his? His is the adjective describing men. Okay? So what we're going to do, I'll draw the frame and you fill it out on your paper. And you might have been able to do this without me doing this. Lots of lines. All right, I I guess I can have someone come up and do it on the board, but you have to do it quickly, okay? Because I don't want to take forever. You can just up here. All right, Jaina, can you reach that? Here, I'll do the tall one. Not his. What's the other subject? There you go. Men. Good. His men. Fought. Good. Courageously, good. How did they fight? They fought courageously. So, who did they fight? English. How many of you got that right in your book before Jada even did that? Good. Okay. Next one. That one's probably going to be the hardest one that we do. Number 2, he was constantly defeated by them. What's the subject? He. What's the verb?
Was defeated.
Was defeated. Very good. And what kind of a verb is that? Action verb. So put AV above it. And we are not going to diagram by them. That's actually a prepositional phrase that we'll learn later. And then, how were they defeated? Constantly. So that's an adverb describing was defeated. Let me call in somebody who hasn't done one. Dylan, do you? No, wait, you did one. Lucas, do you want to come up and diagram? All right, Braden, you can come up. You haven't been up yet. Can you do it without me drawing the brain? Very good. So he is your subject, was defeated is your verb, and constantly is an adverb describing how they were defeated. All right, and then the last one, number 3. Once Robert noticed a spider. So Robert is your subject. What's the verb? Notice. What's the spider? Spider's a direct object because it's saying what he noticed.
And then
Once is an adverb, right?
when
Describing,
noticed.
it's describing when he noticed. And what's the word a?
Is an adjective describing spider.
Very good. Okay, so hopefully everybody mark that in your book. And Mackenzie, do you want to come up and do one? No. Trying to pick who I don't have on the list here. All right. Nicholas. And we'll do Mortimer. So you should have your subject, verb, and direct object, and then you have one adverb and one adjective. Let me see. Writing a pen. Put this away. Alright, oh, can you write through the adverb? When did he notice? Or it might actually be how often. Right. Good job. So Robert noticed spider. What kind of spider? A spider. How often did he notice? Once. Good job. Alright, for think B, we're going to mark each sentence and draw an arrow from each adverb to the verb it describes. Okay, let's do this one sentence at a time. Ready? Robert Bruce observed the spider. What's the subject? Robert Bruce. That must be his full name. What's the verb?
Observe.
Observe, right. So are there any adverbs in that sentence? No. Spider is not an adverb. Yes, but we're not, you don't need to put the pattern, we're just marking the sentence. So you just do subject, verb. It worked persistently on its web. What's the subject? Good. What's the verb? Worked. Some of you aren't marking your sentences. Micah, wake up. Okay, how do they work? Persistently. So that's an adverb, right? Describing worked. So draw an arrow from persistently to worked.
Encircle it, right?
Well, in this case, it doesn't say you have to circle it. All you have to do is draw an arrow. The spider's web soon broke. So what's the subject? Web is your subject. And then what's the verb? Broke. And is there an adverb? Soon. Right, but we're only doing adverbs. We're not doing adjectives. Okay, so soon is describing when it broke. So draw an arrow from soon to broke. The spider rebuilt the web, but it broke it again. So in this sentence, there's two subjects. What's the first one? Spider and it. And then what's the first verb? Rebuilt and broke. So it's spider rebuilt, it broke, and what's the adverb? Again. Again is describing broke. On the seventh try, the spider finally built a strong web. So what's the subject? Good. What's the verb? Built. Is there an adverb? No. Finally. So when did he build it? Finally. So draw an arrow. Okay. Robert was encouraged by the lesson of the persistent spider. So what's the subject? Robert is your subject. Was encouraged is your verb. And is there an adverb? No. Robert would not quit. Subject. Verb. Would quit. Now, would quit is a verb. Now we're going to learn what not is. What's not?
How?
Not is saying how often he would quit.
Never.
Not.
Never.
Okay? Not is an adverb describing would quit? So draw an arrow, even though it's in the center of the verb. Draw an arrow from not to quit, I guess.
Or you can do this. Would not.
You can, but you just can just draw one.
It looks
All
like
right.
there's two
Robert and
views.
his men successfully fought the next battle.
Robert and his men is the subject.
Okay, Robert and men is subject. What's the verb?
Successfully.
Fought.
And then successfully is the adverb.
Yes. Successfully is just right. Just successfully is describing how they fought. So draw an arrow from successfully to fought. He completely defeated the English. He is your subject. What's your verb? Defeated. How did he defeat?
Completely.
Completely. So that's your adverb. Like a spider, we should work diligently.
We is the subject.
Good.
Should work is your
Is your adverb.
Very good. How should we work? Diligently. So draw an arrow from diligently to should work.